Rich, obviously Harry Newman's back in the squad, which is a huge boost. Is he going to be back on the field on Friday?
Yeah, we think so. We think he'll be in our 17. Just whether we start him or play him from the bench will just depend on a couple of things. But it'd be good to get him back, mate. Obviously, pretty big traumatic injury. But I will say, from start to finish, his commitment to his rehabilitation, his commitment and application and dedication to his rehabilitation has been, just world class. Really, he's had a couple of setbacks towards the end, where he maybe hasn't got back to full training as quick as he would have liked. He just had to trust the healing process a little bit more, and be a little bit patient with it, which I think, given he'd come so far with it, James, has caused him some frustrations. But he's good to go, mate. He looks a picture physically. Of course, we would expect him to be lacking, I guess, top line match fitness. He's training in terms of what he's done contact wise. He's done plenty, but you never sort of quite get used to game conditions until you play a game or two and get back into it. But yeah, he's super fit and raring to go.
What about the rest of the squad? You've had some suspensions, some sort of COVID isolations as well. How challenging has it been to put the side together this week?
Same as most weeks. We're sort of getting used to it now. We've had the luxury of having a training session this week, which we've not been really able to do for about a month. And yeah, we have had to face some disruption again through suspension, quite obviously, and again we've had some COVID and track and trace issues, which I think, James, we all know are becoming more prevalent in the game. It's reflecting what is happening in the country on a wider scale, and it's only quite natural that flows into, that flows into our camp, and it's something that I think we're probably going to be seeing a little bit more of throughout the game over the ensuing weeks, unless we decide to change the rules on track and trace protocols.
Just on your suspensions, have you got any complaints over either?
Well, I don't know if you're asking me that on the back of Michael Carter's very aggressive statement yesterday. I feel some of Michael's frustrations in that. I think we all do, but I maybe have a slightly different take. I think where match review is concerned and Paul Cullen, look, I think Paul's done a pretty consistent job, but I think sometimes we have to appreciate his hands are tied by the rules that are in place. So maybe it's not Paul's decisions, because I think Paul is up to date with the game. I do believe that. I really strongly believe that he is. I think the dialogue that we have with him as coaches is always open, honest, positive, even if we widely disagree with the suspensions. At times we can question the gradings. I think that is that is what we strive for, both him and us, in terms of consistency. And I think sometimes it's difficult to get that. But I think I'll reiterate my point there. I think sometimes Paul is hamstrung by what the current rules in the game are. So maybe it's that and the process what needs looking at, and certainly judiciary. I think rarely do we go to a judiciary for the reasons that Michael was saying last night. We went to one a couple of weeks ago over Alex Meller. I get some of Michael's frustrations around that, and there's a number of frustrations about quite a number of things in the game at the moment. So maybe we can have a look at the big picture on the whole moving forward. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think Michael Carter were on a steering committee about the whole judiciary process not too long ago. So maybe they've not listened to Michael's and his fellow committee members' recommendations. I'm not too sure. Look, the whole thing about hitting players in the back, we got Reece Martin down on one this week, and I think James Maloney is on the same one. Look, we incurred a couple of penalties at Salford the other week, and Tommy Allroyd incurred a penalty, and we've had a bloke suspended this week. I think we've got to really define the judgment calls on hitting people in the back. Look, I really think we've got to protect us halves, and going gung-ho and taking halfbacks out and hitting people late in the back and causing those whiplash injuries is very dangerous. But I also think there's a line of, when a ball player is playing at the line, or even a front rower's charging at the line, we don't want him getting onto the next defender. We encourage line speed, and sometimes it's happening at such speed. And when the ball player's almost trod on the defender's toes, it's very, very difficult not to get yourself set for a tackle and avoid contact and collision. You just can't pull out of it, and you don't want to let him get to the next defender. I think there's some instances there where, we copying suspensions. Now, I'm not blaming Paul, because that's the rules at the start of the year, but it's ones like that we're like, come on, it's really hard to avoid these collisions, really, really hard. But I've said this before on Alex Mellor's suspension. Paul Cullen's applying the rules that are in place, so it's difficult for him to at times avoid any other conclusion. The process after that, I think is a talking point.
So just finally for me, given the risks associated with sort of foreign travel at the moment and the fact that Catalan are top of the table, how challenging is this a game for you right now?
Well, it's interesting that we played them last week, because, we were up at half time. We certainly had some golden chances to be a little bit more further in front in the game. And afterwards, the 4 games in 14 days were thrown at us, and fatigue. And we just weren't quite sure whether that were the biggest cause of our fatigue, James, or a little bit of both, what we did to ourselves and what Catalans did to us. And we talked about almost taking a little bit more a leaf out of their book. I thought they played with great control and iced the big moments and the chances in the game really well, where we didn't play with as much control, and we didn't ice our chances. And I thought that were probably the biggest difference in the game. So for us, we're going to have some changes to our lineup, but I'd suggest they're going to too. We got to travel, we got some hot weather, but we got a great chance to square the ledger. And again, we're more looking at making improvements to our own performance on the back of a little bit more rest and recuperation into the game, and an opportunity to practice around it. So yeah, it's a challenge, but every week for different circumstances, it is a challenge now, James. And again, it's one that I think our boys are looking forward to it.
I don't know if I'm being too stubborn or harsh in saying this with the charge and stuff at the minute. And apologies if I'm not wording the question right, but is the game getting a little bit too soft?
I don't think the players are soft. I think the
rules, yeah.
I think the game's getting tougher, and the players are, what they're putting the bodies through at the moment, and speed of the game, the collisions. I think, I certainly won't say that. It's just balance, Matt. Really, you've got to balance it out. Of course, we want a clean game. Of course, we want to protect the players, and particularly smaller players, getting whacked by bigger players in the back, if that's what you're talking about. Yeah, we have got to get a degree of protection for everybody playing the game. That's important, not just for people playing the game, but for the game as a spectacle, and to obviously entice people to play the game in the future. It's got to be a safe place to play, because such is the degree of professionalism and the quality of athlete we've got now. Collisions are going to happen, but we've just got to get that balance, mate. We've got to get the balance right, in my opinion.
On the cleansing squad as well, how close is he to playing, and how much are you looking forward to seeing him on the field? He's obviously been as frustrated for him as I'm sure it has been for Harry Newman. Yeah,
well, obviously Callum's been waiting for an opportunity, and it's fair to say with what's happened with Rob Louis and Jack Walker, and Luke Gale's missed a fair chunk of our season too. Callum would have had plenty of opportunity to stamp his mark on our team this year, and it's left him frustrated. He's sort of got back from one injury and picked up another, and then he's had some little grumbles along the way. So we've only seen him on the field, mate, this week. So he's close to playing in our team this week, such is where we're at with our lineup at the moment. And look, he just wants to make sure that he's in the best shape possible to take that chance, because that is probably some feedback we've given him in the past, that when he's had opportunities, he's maybe not been in the best shape he can be to make the most of those opportunities and be as effective as a half needs to be. He's certainly got the rugby league IQ and intelligence. And as a young half, it's not always that easy at times coming into a team where you're not familiar with combinations, which has happened to him in the past. And he came in last year at a time when we did have some disruption in his lineup. We were back from COVID, so it was difficult, mate, for him. He got put in some difficult circumstances. But there's a dearth of young halfbacks in the game, and it'll be good for Callum this year to obviously be in good shape to take as many opportunities that come his way, and hopefully give us some tough decisions moving forward about where he stands in regards to our starting lineup. That'd be great for us.
What is the situation with Rob Louis? Obviously, he played those 2 games and then wasn't available last week. Is he injured or just sort of getting over the after effects of his comeback?
No, he pulled his hamstring, mate, in the Warrington game. So he's out at the moment. I don't know if we've already put that out, have we not, Phil? No, so Rob. Oh, it was a short turnaround, wasn't it? Yeah, Rob tore his hamstring, mate. But look, 2 games in 4 days. We knew we were rushing him back because we had to, and I guess we knew in Robert's condition at this moment in time that the back-to-back games were always an element of risk. But unfortunately, Pete, it was one that we had to take, given our circumstances at the time. So yeah, Rob's got a low-grade hamstring at the moment.
Just on a slightly different topic, who's going to win the Challenge Cup final?
The team that scores the most points. You can't draw me on that, Pete, can you? You can't,
And which team will that be, do you think, Ray?
You can't draw me on that. Look, all the form book would point to St. Helens, given the current form. If you look at where they've been defensively throughout the year, they've been a very, very, very difficult team to break down. It's a great opportunity for Castleford. It's a one-off game. Castleford have had a very, very tricky run in terms of consistency of football, getting players on the field. They had to rest people. A 6-day turnaround last week, so they had to. It'd been very, very risky to put guys out there where head injury protocols would have come into it. So they ended up getting dusted up last week. But they'll probably do what they did in the semi-final, Pete, and I guess put all their eggs in one basket and sort of forsake any real quality preparation to get the strongest possible team on the park, feeling as fresh as they can. You'd anticipate it being a hot day down there. And obviously there's different factors, pressure-wise, that can come into a Challenge Cup final. I would suggest that Saints will be strong favourites, but I think Castleford showed in the semi-final that they are more than capable of creating an upset.